everyone, my name is Flick Manning and welcome to the Cawthentic Kitchen. I'm super excited to have you with me today to go through this chocolate recipe. So before I get started, this recipe is really designed for people that are either looking to remove some of the refined or processed sugar from their diets to sort of clean it up a little bit, or for people like myself, I have Crohn's disease, so I have got food intolerances and food allergies. So today's recipe is going to be chocolate, and the chocolate is going to be dairy-free, refined sugar-free, and gluten-free. And with one small change, you can actually make this recipe vegan as well. I get most of these products from Aldi, which is a supermarket chain, particularly here in Australia. You can get your organic products and your Australian made products so much cheaper than going to somewhere like Coles and Woolworths, and they tend to be much better quality, so I highly recommend shopping there for all of this stuff, because we do want to make it as cheap as possible. So we've got organic pure Australian honey, we've got organic extra virgin coconut oil, we also have some coconut milk. This is unsweetened, it's gluten-free, it has got no GMOs or artificial flavoring in it, and we also have our organic cacao powder. Now, cacao is different to cocoa powder, guys and girls. Cocoa powder is sugared, it is bleached, it is highly heated and processed, so it will be much sweeter. Cacao powder is very bitter, but it's filled with amazing antioxidants and it's really high in iron. So it's a great one to have in the cupboard, add into your smoothies, your cooking. Just keep in mind that if you tried to make hot cocoa with this without some kind of sweetener in it, you would find it exceptionally bitter. So it is different, but it is worth getting this one instead. And we also have our vanilla essence. Now you can use vanilla bean paste, there's a whole pile of different versions, but I've just gone for very simple off-the-shelf vanilla. So I want to make sure that everything that I'm using today is really readily accessible to all of you and really cheap to buy. So stuff that you can really, even if you don't have an Aldi, you will be able to walk into a supermarket and find every one of these products. So the first thing I'm going to do is deal with my honey. I want to make sure that I have 1/3 of a cup of honey. So really easy. Now if you have found that you're using a jar of honey and it's got a little bit hard or crispy, you can just microwave it for about 10 seconds and usually that will completely undo and become liquefied again. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and I'm just going to pour directly into my cup. Pour nice and slow. Honey obviously is very sticky. This acts as our sweetener for the entire product. All right, so once you get to your 1/3 of a cup, simply pop it into your saucepan. Super easy. Now, if you want to make this process or this recipe vegan, you can simply change out the honey for a vegan friendly sweetener. So for example, agave syrup is a really good alternative to it. However, it doesn't have quite the same health benefits. So honey is technically a healthier version of a sweetener, but if you are vegan and you are worried about obviously using the honey, please do change to agave, or you could even maybe liquefy some stevia. That's another option as well. All right, once your honey has gone in, what you're going to do is you're going to take your vanilla essence, you're going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla essence. This really helps to lift the chocolate flavor out of the cacao once that actually ends up in the recipe. So a teaspoon of that, pop it in on top, super easy. All right, we're going to take our cacao. I'm going to take a dessert spoon. I'm just going to grab another one because I've already used mine. So just a dessert spoon. Going to get that out. Boom. Relatively level. You don't want it to be too much. It's better to actually start with less and add with raw cacao because of the bitterness of it. So I would start with a relatively level spoon. Just pop that in. All right, so I'm going to take our Cocoa Quench. Simply going to pour out 1/3 of a cup. Make sure that you have, splashed at me. Make sure that you have given it a good shake. You don't want to have like big solid lumps of coconut milk in here. Simply add that into your recipe. Really easy. All right, now we're going to take our organic coconut oil. This has got so many health properties to it. It's very anti-inflammatory. So for people like myself that do have issues with inflammation in the gut, you might have inflammation that comes out in the skin, in the hair, coconut oil is absolutely fantastic. It's really, really good for absorbing or attracting, I should say, bad cholesterol and helping you to push it out of your body as well. Now, I'm not a nutritionist, ladies and gents, so if you do have a specific health concern, please do go and work with a nutritionist or a dietitian or a medical practitioner that will help you. But these are some pretty good tips that I've picked up along the way. So it's stuff that I eat and consume all the time. All right, so we have got a teaspoon of coconut oil. Now, when it's solidified, it's really, really easy to spot that it is a teaspoon. If it has become liquid already, I would say use about a half of your third cup. Okay, so half of your third cup measure will be around the same as a teaspoon. And I put it in when it's still solid. So I just pop that off, and that's giving us that really lovely texture to go alongside our coconut milk. Okay, so once everything is in the saucepan, you have it on the lowest heat, you simply stand here and mix. So it's a little bit like making gravy in that you keep the heat really, really low, and you keep the stirring relatively quick. So we're just looking for the little lumps of coconut oil, which you might be able to spot in there. We're waiting for those to actually melt, and for us to sort of feel like we've got all of that, the thickness of the honey all melted in together. It's super, super easy. So as soon as you see any kind of steam starting to lift off, which is what I saw just a moment ago, remove your pan from the heat so that you don't actually start to boil it. Once chocolate or anything chocolatey starts to overcook, it smells absolutely disgusting and it's not usable. You might have found this just by using cooking chocolate in the past, for example. So this is the same process. So I'm just going to keep stirring it just for a few seconds now that I've taken it off the heat, so that it can start to adjust to the room temperature. I'm just letting lots of fresh, cool oxygen into it. And then all I'm going to do is simply pour it directly into my pan. What I'm going to do is basically just pour your saucepan of chocolatey goodness in here. Don't worry if you still see a couple of tiny lumps, you can still get those out. So it's very liquidy at this particular point. Now, some people do like to use gelatin. That is another way of doing it and getting it to solidify, but personally, I don't think you need it. I can't wait until they've introduced something like Smell-O-Vision, because the smell of this right now is insanely good. I kind of want to lay down and have a bath in it. So if you're in a really cold temperature right now, I cannot recommend this enough. You can actually use this once it's fully solidified to be the basis of hot chocolate, which is great too. So you could just take 1 or 2 chunks of this that you've cut up, place it into a saucepan with either some other coconut milk, some almond milk, some rice milk, whatever you like, and heat that up, and it's going to be the most delicious hot chocolate you have ever had. This, meanwhile, simply just has to stay on the bench and cool enough. So bring it down to about room temperature, and then you're going to pop it into the freezer for an hour. So I'm going to show you a little snippet of a batch that has been made earlier. And here we have a snippet of a little batch made earlier. I simply pulled out a hunk of it and used my hands just to break it into small pieces. Okay, so now while I'm waiting for that batch to actually officially cool, I'm just going to try a piece of the batch that I made earlier. It smells delicious, it looks delicious. Keep in mind it is chocolate, so it will melt if you leave it out in a warm environment for a long period of time. However, if you are currently in a sort of wintry environment, it's probably going to be all right on the bench for a little while. You can turn this back into hot chocolate. You can put this over fruit. You can add peanut butter, nuts, pretzels, dried fruit, shredded coconut, pretty much anything you can do with this. It is the bomb. So definitely get in and try this. I highly, highly recommend developing your palate, learning to eat a little bit cleaner. Honestly, when you empower yourself to be able to look at a restaurant menu and think, I can make that at home, but I can make it better, I can make it cheaper, and I can make it healthier. Honestly, it is such a big road towards your wellness, and it's going to do huge things for the people around you. So if you do have a family, by empowering yourself and showing yourself value and care, and that your health is important, you show everyone else in your family that they are also cared and loved for, and that their health is also important. So great thing to pass on to people around you. And now I'm going to stick it in my gob. Gosh, to die for. Honestly, so good. Okay. Let me know what you think of the recipe. I hope that you really enjoyed it today. There'll be more coming up on Cawthentic soon.